Once again, ladies and gentlemen, around the world, you're listening to the Hour of the Time. I'm William Cooper.
And I'm Carolyn Nelson.
And we're coming to you live somewhere around the mountains known as the White Mountains in the great state of Arizona. Well, the New World Order has been launched. Remember, I told you NAFTA would pass. Sunday, when I was in Atlanta, I informed the crowd there at NAFTA, as it should be pronounced, would be passed. And it was. This isn't just a nail in the coffin, folks. This may be the coffin. Couple that with Clinton's health care bill and the new health care card, closely followed by passage of a law mandating vaccinations for children, a computer database to follow the children all their lives with this vaccination program, and mandatory child abuse charges for any parents who refuse to go along with the program. And that just about will wrap up the New World Order. Now, there's something about NAFTA that you don't know about, folks. I told you before I went to Atlanta that the real name of this bill was NAFTA. NAFTA, North American Trade and Financial Agreement. You see, everybody writes me letters and say, why are you pinging on Chuck Carter? Well, in the first place, I never pinged on him. I only answered questions when people specifically asked me about Chuck Carter. He's a socialist. They say, but he did such a good thing for this country. He single-handedly managed to get out 700,000 copies of NAFTA to the people. And, folks, I doubt very seriously whether he got out 700,000 copies, but if that's what he says, we'll go with that. The truth is, every single one of them had the last 26 pages of the agreement missing, and they were missing intentionally, because the last 26 pages of the heart and soul of the bringing together of the one world economic system and a central world bank known as the World Conservation Bank, which I warned you about over a year ago, long ago, as a matter of fact. So, it's a done deal. Anybody who truly and sincerely believes that American small business can compete with Mexican low wages is out of their mind. The trucking industry in this country, folks, is going to suffer tremendously. You see, nobody's talked about the fact that Mexican drivers aren't just going to be bringing goods into this country from Mexico and then turning around with empty trailers and going back. No, they're going to pick up loads here and go back into Mexico. American truckers won't have to worry about hauling goods into Mexico because Mexican drivers work for almost nothing. And that's the truth of the matter. Not only that, but with this agreement, they can leave Mexico with a full load, come up here, deliver it, pick up a full load in this country, take it to another state in this country, pick up another full load, take it to another state, pick up a full load, and take that load back to Mexico. Remember, I told you that all of these congressmen would hold out and would not tell anybody how they were going to make their vote until the last day. Well, that's what happened, and it just resulted in a landslide. You can blame it on anybody you want, folks. Blame it on anybody you want. Blame it on your congressman. Blame it upon Bill Clinton. Blame it upon H. Ross Perot. You can even blame it on me if you want. But the truth is, it is the fault of the American people. That's where the fault lies. That's who will suffer. And one of these days, that's who's going to have to wake up and grow up. What are you going to do when this health care bill comes up? They're talking now that because Clinton pushed so hard to get this NAFTA treaty through, or not treaty actually, it's not even a treaty, it's agreement. It's an agreement. It takes power away from both the president and Congress. Really puts a nick in the sovereignty of this nation. And I'll tell you this, there's a lot of sheeple out there who listen to the man who's sitting on half his brain. What's his name? Rush? Well, Rush told you many times that he's an entertainer. He's told you many, many, many times that if he thought that changing to the liberal point of view would get him a bigger listening audience and a bigger share of the ratings, that he'd do it like right now. And people still listen to him. He said NAFTA's a good thing. So they told their congressman to vote for NAFTA. Didn't you, sheeple? Well, you're going to be feeling the results of this for a long, 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 long time. Not only that, but it has elevated Bill Clinton from the relatively unimportant position of being a perpetual and habitual lying socialist to a pretty big man in the world. You've pumped him up. You've jacked him up. You put him on top of the pedestal now. And it's not going to be so easy to knock him back down where he was. If this thing had been defeated, he would have been a lame duck president. Socialism would not have come so easy to us. Small business is going to benefit, huh? You guys are going to get jobs? Sure you are. Small businessmen are going to benefit. They're barely making it now. Barely making it now. Bogged down with bureaucratic red tape, taxes, health care programs, being sued by every feminazi. That's the only good thing that Russia's ever come up with that I know of is feminazi in the office. Look at them twice and you got a lawsuit. This is this is the end of small business, ladies and gentlemen. Now they're going to have to compete with very cheap Mexican labor. Very cheap Mexican labor. Karl Marx would be out celebrating if he were alive today. One of his avowed goals was to redistribute the wealth from the first world industrial nations to the third world uneducated, undeveloped, low-wage, poverty-stricken world. What's going to happen now if this health care bill passes and the small businessman is now saddled with paying for the health care of everyone, including himself, that's even involved with his business? What's he going to do then, sheeple? Small business is history. And if you go back and read Public Law 100-690, you'll see that they've set it up so that slave labor can exist in this country. Large multinational corporations and prisons can contract for prisoners to work for nothing. Small business can't compete with slave labor and with Mexican low wages. And with all these taxes and bureaucratic red tape. Whatever happened to responsibility? Why is everybody else in the world responsible for all you sheeple out there? What else are we going to have to do for you? You want me to come over there and tuck you in at night? I'm so sick of socialism, folks, you might get a little angry with me tonight. But that's okay. It's my radio show. I can say whatever I want. And I'm just liable to do it tonight. So, you stay tuned. There, I screamed.
Here comes Sugar Bear.
Woke the dog up. He's in here now. Maybe we can get him to barking. Maybe we can wake some of you out there up. Although, I'm beginning to seriously doubt it, folks. Seriously doubt it. And, well, fooey on that. Why don't you just think a little bit about what I've been telling you, and I'll be back in a few.
Let's welcome Mr. Richie Haven.
Let me out of here. I'm going to move to Mexico.
Guitar mic, please. Guitar mic.
Let's see what's going on here. Gene, is that you?
That's me.
Well, tell us, what's happening now that this NAFTA has passed?
Well, I guess it took a bit of a surprise. We were expecting actually the stock market to rally and go up and the gold market to go down, and it's done just the opposite. It's funny, when we was watching the NAFTA thing go through the other day, the calls we checked on were about 25-1 from the public against NAFTA. And yet these people didn't even pay attention to those, the people that vote them into office. They went ahead and passed it. Gold was up from yesterday. We saw a slight drop yesterday, but it was up $5.25 today to close at $377.75. Silver was up 7 cents today, closed at $4.67, and the Dow went down 19 points. The interesting thing, though, the Gannett stock went up, and it's continued to go up. The last time we talked, in fact, when I checked it on Monday, was at 51.5. Now it's at 53 1/8. So it's been steadily moving up. So apparently we're making a difference there.
Yeah, not only that, but I talked to some very wealthy people in Atlanta, Georgia, and had some private meetings with some businessmen, and we're really putting pressure on that stock. It's going to go up even more. Anybody who got in when it was down around 50 is really going to make a killing when we're done with this.
There was like 300 and some odd thousand shares moved today just in that stock. I mean, it was a phenomenal move. So
we're doing it.
Anyhow, but now that we all know that NAFTA is passing, I think that you and I will agree that this is basically one more nail in the coffin as far as the economy and the working class people of this country.
Well, it's not just a nail in the coffin. I don't think it's even really the coffin. This might be the whole damn mortuary.
Yeah.
What do you think?
The whole dug in the yeah, you're probably right there. You know, I heard something that interesting, not to change the subject, but you know, sometimes we wonder, is the message getting out? Are people starting to pay attention? And believe it or not, I heard it was on one of the religious stations tonight. A guy by the name of John Hagee, he's got a ministry out of San Antonio, Texas. And believe it or not, he was preaching basically the exact same thing that you've been talking about, the Federal Reserve and how it's a bogus thing and how it's never been audited and how this New World Order and the Trilateral and the CFR and the whole 9 yards. I mean, I guess I was impressed to hear somebody else out there, you know, besides myself and you and a few handful of others, you know, preaching what's going on with this society, what's going on with this economy.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, too.
Yeah. The numismatic market's still holding very strong, and I do have a special offer for those that have been paying attention. And those of you that bought in at the Morgan Silver dollar market, you're doing extremely well. You're up about 25%. And for the first, I got only 13, so for the first 13 people that call in, and I would suggest you call in tonight, my number is 800-289-2646, or if you're calling overseas, it's area code 602-953-6000. Mention that you're from William Cooper and that you listen to Hour of the Time. But I'm going to give you $60, and I'll tell you how I'm going to do it. These coins have gone up to $14.85, and that's what they're currently selling at. And basically, we got all the coins that are available. I picked up 13 of them as I left the office today. I'm going to sell them at $14.25 to the first 13 people that call in. This is a coin, and I've explained this to everybody that calls this. Do not fall in love with this. This is strictly to turn around and take the profits and go back in and buy something that's going to be much more useful, like some bullion, some junk bags of silver or just silver rounds, some cheap stuff that you can buy groceries with and, you know, protect your family. But this is something that you can make a whole lot more money than you can in the bank, and it's going to be a whole lot more safer. And what I tell my clients, and I own them myself, expect to move about 50 to 100% in the next 6 to 12 months on this thing. And then we're going to get out, and then we're going to sell it, take a profit, and then go do something useful with the money. But I got 13 of them, and if you want to save $60, leave a message on my answering machine tonight. I'll call you back tomorrow. You got to mention that you're from William Cooper, or somebody else will take them up and you won't get the deal. But
or we won't even talk to you.
Yeah. No, but do have a special for you. Like I say, I have 13 of them. I expect they'll go real quick. So leave a message tonight. And other than that, everything's going good.
Great. How's the little one?
He's doing great. He's doing great. He's probably, he's got to be 11 pounds by now almost. So he's well, people are starting to look at him and say he's a little pig, but he's I can't tell you how much I'm blessed.
They're all little pigs for a while.
Yeah.
You know, Pooh's already made a snowman this year.
Oh, is that right? You got snow up there?
Had snow, yeah.
Well, we don't have that down here in Phoenix, but I imagine it won't be long. We'll be taking a trip up that way to take the kids skiing, and we'll stop by and see you.
All right. Thanks a lot, Gene, for the update. And,
okay. And we do have a new newsletter, by the way, that just got printed. So anybody needing a new newsletter, give me a holler. Those that are already clients will be getting one automatically. Anybody else that hasn't gotten in the newsletters, hasn't received our material, feel free to call. anytime, and just leave your name and number or call during the day. But it's 800-289-2646, or like again, overseas, it's area code 602-953-6000.
And don't forget to ask for Gene Miller and Gene Miller only.
Thank you.
We'll see you Monday night. Gene.
All righty.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Okay, folks, that's it. 1-800-289-2646. Call it right now. 1-800-289-2646. Ask for Gene Miller, no one else. If you're outside the continental limits of the United States of America, call 602-953-6000. That's 602-953-6000. And I should say, if you're outside the continental limits of Region 1 of the New World Order, Canada, the United States, and Mexico. George Washington once said this: government is not reason, it is not eloquence, it is force. Like fire, it is dangerous servant and a fearful master. And Isaiah chapter 10, verses 1 and 2 says this: woe to those who decree unjust statutes and to those who continually record unjust decisions, to deprive the needy of justice and to rob the poor of my people of their rights. And who's doing this? That knows.
Some say love is a river that drowns the tender reed. Some say love it is a razor that leaves your soul to bleed. Some say love, it is a wonder, an endless aching need. I say love, it is a flower, and you, it's only seed.
And contrary to those who worship at the foot of the stone god that can neither hear nor speak, that song has nothing to do with love. It has to do with death, resurrection, reincarnation. It has to do with the sun setting and rising again in the morning, and the moon returning after 3 days of darkness. It is written in an esoteric language. Good evening.
Hello, William Cooper.
How you doing?
Oh, I don't know. I've been watching it all roll by.
Isn't that something?
That bumper bubble zone law they're putting forth upon the abortion protesters will soon apply to other areas of life, I'm sure.
It already does. That's just the way they're warming up the public to accept it, because that's the heart and soul of S8, which is the... Yeah, it's the Anti-Crime Bill of 1993.
Control Act. I got it here at home. And, you know, it's funny, when the unions were trying to sway the men in our state house, you heard the language from President Clinton saying they are intimidating and terrifying the representatives, the same language almost used in the Crime Control Act.
That's right, and the media is already calling anyone who blocks the entrance to a public building or to an abortion clinic a terrorist.
International terrorist.
That's correct.
I learned something else from S8. The Attorney General has executive power to call out Army, Navy, Air Force, or Marines upon these kinds of terrorists. And we honor no extradition treaty on Earth now with S8.
Yep, we're in big trouble.
This is it. It's here. Oh, another thing that you probably haven't heard of. Somebody was listening to Mr. Slattery at a public meeting, and the issue of health care came up. And he said because of the complications of having cards and losing cards and things like that, they might just have to go to a chip for the health care plan.
Yeah.
There you are.
Yep, this is something I've been warning about for many years, and they're pulling it right in on us.
And what do we see on the regular TV? But if you go, Michael Jackson, all these other baloney things, and when I call people to talk to them about F8, they just want to be blind. They don't want to hear it. Oh, it can't be that bad. Oh, that's not what they're going to do with it.
Yeah.
When you see the Israelis dragging off their own poor, afflicting the just for a bribe, selling the children for the needy for a pair of shoes, that's an Amos.
Yeah.
Over and over, the good book says these things. And there is nothing you can do about it but keep yourselves strong, keep your knowledge, not go with their stupid idolatry, Masonic, Luciferian baloney.
You just about covered it in that sentence, didn't you?
And, look up, for your redemption draws nigh, and I'm not talking about floating,
Well, I disagree with you on one thing.
I know you're ready.
There are a lot of things that we can do. The only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. Edmund Burke said that.
No, I don't know if there's a lot of good men left.
Well, I'm starting to wonder about that myself. I can go to just about any city and find 2 or 3 real good men and about an equal number of real good women, and they're usually married to the good men or vice versa. And the rest of them don't want to hear it, don't want to know about it.
Prophesy to me smooth and lying deceits. That's what they want to hear. They want to hear fairy tales.
Well, they're hearing a lot of them. They're sure getting
That's what they tell you. Prophesy to me smoothly. Smooth and lying deceits is what they want to hear all the time.
They're getting their ears full now. Is there a main point you wanted to bring out?
I don't know. It just seems the last few days everything's come so hard and so fast. It just seems like a flood all of a sudden, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, it's going to be from here on in. I mean, they saw their enemy at Project 93 on the Capitol steps. They saw they don't have an enemy.
No, a small number. I know a lot of people out here are where I'm at are pretty fed up, but I think they just don't know what to do. They feel trapped.
Yeah.
Jan Myers, all these people around where I live thought Jan Myers was going to go against it, and so did I for a while until she felt one day it was all of a sudden undecided.
Yeah.
That's that control conflict. They're all the same bunch of people. I just wonder what in the world can be done to stop it. Is anybody going to make an effort to stop S8 in the House? It's coming to the House next week, I suppose.
It'll be there soon.
You think anybody will try to stop that, or do you think everybody will just be smoothed under the rug and griping about NAFTA still?
Well, the big mistake was reelecting these clowns in the last election when everybody said that they were not going to do it. But there they are.
No, he said we were going to get change. We got it.
Yep, we sure did. Listen, I want to thank you for calling. We're coming up to the break. We're going to turn over a tape here in about a minute and a half.
Hang in there.
And thank you for calling.
Bye.
Bye-bye. And before we get to that, though, I want to try to, I don't know if I have time. I don't have time, so I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is just let you ponder on this a couple more minutes while I turn over this tape when it comes up, and then we'll read some things here maybe. We'll go back, take some more calls, and maybe I'll yell and scream some more.
Some say love is a river that drowns the tender reed. Some say afraid of waiting, 'cause I'd never. Who cannot see and the soul afraid of dying that never learns to live. When the night has been too lonely and the road has been too long, and you think that love is only for the free and the strong, just remember in the winter, for me, love is snow. Lie in the sea that with the comes love in the spring becomes the rose.
Oh, yes. In Europe, ladies and gentlemen, they're not as stupid as we are over here. This is from Italy by Andrea Tornielli. Private chat in the Holy See. Judge Agostino Cordova has made informal contact with the Vatican in his search for information and documentation on the Masonic membership of prelates. Agostino Cordova, the former chief prosecutor of Palmi, southern Italy, who has now been transferred to the Naples office, made informal contact with the Vatican's Secretariat of State last March. News of it was kept secret and has only now filtered out. Judge Cordova is heading a major inquiry into secret Masonic lodges and relations between organized crime and Freemasonry. His inquiries so far amount to a map of the new Propaganda II, an Italian Masonic lodge outlawed in 1982 on suspicion of subversive activities, and the map is a list of 1,500 names of brethren who have never appeared on the official versions. The issue discussed at the judge's meeting with Secretariat of State exponents was the eventual Masonic membership of high-ranking prelates. The Calabrian judge asked for information, details, and documentation if it existed in the possession of Vatican authorities. I've been telling you folks, there's a lot more to this, a lot more. And if you've been listening to my series on the mysteries, you know, I'm not going to read this whole article. I'm not going to read this whole article. It would bounce off most of your ears anyway. Some of you out there have been paying attention, and you know I'm not talking to you. But most of you are despicable sheeple. I don't know how I'm going to turn you around. Sometimes I feel like it's just useless to try, but I'm not going to give up on you. I don't know why. I just can't do it. I think my little daughter has something to do with that. No matter what you bring down on yourselves, you have no right to bring it down on those of us who don't deserve it. I believe that 100%. Well, phone's open, 602-333-2174. This new fairness doctrine that's in Congress will silence talk radio. Were you aware of that, folks? This new fairness doctrine will silence talk radio. Not just conservative, but liberal. It'll silence everybody. Nobody will be able to say anything. Are you going to stop that? Do you even care? I bet you most of you out there didn't write, didn't call, didn't do anything about this NAFTA, just like you didn't show up for Project 93. Good evening. You're on the air.
Yes. Excuse me, I got this radio.
Yeah, just turn it off.
Yeah. I scribbled a little bit, and one of my pieces seems to match the moment.
Good. Go for it.
It's entitled Legacy. The tragic result of deception and lies is a body that lives while the spirit dies. In desperation, we toil and moan, lacking the courage to go it alone. The days drag on in timeless ruts, dreaming of freedom, but lacking the guts. We roll in self-pity, so others won't see a small, frightened child cloaked in piety. Unable to face it, we build a shell and live alone in homemade hell. That seems to be, well, it was written for a dysfunctional family.
Well, that sure fits this, doesn't it? We are a dysfunctional nation, aren't we?
Well, I'm afraid we are.
Are you the one who wrote that poem on my wife's birthday?
Yeah.
You know, she asked me if I knew who you were. She'd like to have a copy of that. She was really touched, and I think...
I've been scribbling for years, and I copyrighted a bunch of this stuff and put it out to the public. It didn't roll. People will either pay a good price for it, or they'll simply look at it and walk on.
Huh. Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't you send us some of your stuff, and we'll look at it, and maybe we can do something for you.
Well, that might be a little help.
Because I've only heard two, and two fantastic out of two is really outstanding. You know, and not too many people are good with this poetry stuff, including me.
Okay.
And you're really good at it, my friend. Don't stop.
Just a sec. One more for Annie, just for practice, okay?
Okay.
All right. I met a lady once who rung my bell, and consequently I wrote this one. It's entitled At Last. You walked into my life, and suddenly my dreary existence was filled with wildflowers. It was like stepping into springtime after an eternity of winter. Your very presence fills my world with beauty. Within the soft, sparkling radiance of your smile, I see the elusive happiness that haunts my soul.
Wow, you really have a talent.
Well,
You be sure to mail those to Annie and Bill Cooper.
Okay, I'll send it to the normal caddy address.
Right.
Yeah, and send us a good sample of what you've done, and we'll take a look at it. I have a publisher, and she might really be interested in that.
That sounds like a winner to me.
Okay, you get it in the mail.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you for calling. Number is 602-333-2174, folks. Good evening, you're on the air.
Oh, hi, how you doing, Bill?
Well, I'm doing okay, but I'm not too happy.
Hi, I got two things. Number one, I have a small business here in Phoenix, and I just signed up with a new Visa Master Charge terminal, and I found out that, all my deposits go through the Federal Reserve, and I didn't know that the Federal Reserve was that, close tied with the Visa and Master Charge, but I guess Federal Reserve makes the deposits into my bank account for all visas that transact through my business.
Yeah, pretty soon you won't be able to buy a stick of bubble gum without them knowing who bought it, where you were at, whose store it was in, what time of day it was, all that stuff.
Right. And number two, there's been a lot on the last couple of days on these tabloid news features that they have on in the daytime on these the use of the ATM machines, and there's a lot of fraud involved. In fact, they had a whole series today on these computer hackers where they can steal
your charge card numbers. And
yeah, they're getting us all set up to do away with cash.
And that's what and it's just in the last 2 days, it's just been nothing but programs on this, the scare tactic, like what are we going to do to protect our bank cards?
Praise the Lord and pass the ammunition.
Yeah, and they had these guys actually set up fake. These criminals set up fake ATM machines they actually set these things up in the malls.
Yeah.
And people would go in there and try and use them, and of course, they would get it back that it was a malfunction, but the machine actually recorded not only their charge card number, but of course their personal PIN number, and then these people would just access that from a different location. In fact, they had these machines set up like thousands of miles away. And
yeah, but my friend, look at this realistically. Now, you've been in malls, right? Mm-hmm. You know there's security in malls. Mm-hmm. If you're just standing around and you look a little strange, somebody's going to approach you and ask you what you're doing in a mall.
Oh, sure.
Do you really think that somebody could come in there and set up a bogus ATM machine without some pretty powerful help?
Yeah, really?
Really.
It doesn't make any sense because most of them are usually built in, they're usually built in a wall.
Yeah.
I mean, where do you, I've seen a few freestanding ones, like in supermarkets, but,
yeah.
Generally they're usually, secured in a wall. I think that would kind of look unusual, but I guess not.
Well, I can assure you, they got powerful help. Nobody, you can't put something, one summer, I worked in a large mall. This was years and years and years ago as a store detective for Liberty House in the Ala Moana Shopping Center in Honolulu. And you don't even have to be on the job 3 days. You know where everything is. You know when anything is moved, when anything is missing. You know when stock has been shifted around. And if somebody were to come in and install an ATM, everybody would be asking questions.
Yeah, they probably would, but I don't know if they would really say anything. I don't know. It's just, there's an ATM machine. Oh, well,
I can guarantee you they would.
But and on top of that, to have the thing, electrically wired up to the telephone line, the whole 9 yards. It's really funny that they got away with that. I mean, they finally got prosecuted. I guess these criminals did get caught with this scam eventually. But I guess they were. Getting ready to actually put these things, I guess, in all parts of the country, and then of course they could just access, once they install the machine, they could just access it from, let's say 2,000 or 3,000 miles away, get all the PIN numbers and the charge card numbers, and then right away start accessing those accounts.
Oh, could I interject here and say that maybe they accomplished their mission? They awakened the people to the fact that they would go to a machine and put their card in, and they could allow them to get their PIN numbers. They were able to report this in the paper that this happened, and it begins to scare people so that they will just walk into the New World Order and allow cashless society to develop. Mm-hmm. So with one shot, they accomplished maybe their mission.
It was kind of funny that they showed these computer hackers had a convention over in Amsterdam, and the basic, I guess, the whole premise of this convention was how to cheat the banks, and they actually had this on this tabloid news reel on television.
Well, in the first place, in all fairness to hackers, hackers are just merely people who really understand computers. I mean, they eat, drink, and sleep computers. They like challenges. They look around and do things just to see if they can do it. I don't know any hackers who stole anything from anybody.
Well, this was a convention of, I guess, these people.
Well, you got to use your head. Somebody is planting these stories in the newspaper. Mm-hmm. 5,000 thieves don't get together and tell the news that they're holding this convention to figure out how to steal from banks. I mean, nobody does that. That doesn't even make any sense.
That doesn't make any sense, yeah.
So what I'm trying to tell you is these things are being engineered from way on high to create in the minds of the public the feeling and the thought and the fear of money, and that money system doesn't work, and we need something else, and that something else is going to be presented to us.
Well, that's exactly what just in the last couple of days, the light bulbs, turned on right away.
Right. Listen to this. Didn't Bill Cooper just say something about the health care cards might get lost, and so we'd better go right to the chip implant? Same type of thing.
Sure.
Yeah,
like I say, it's interesting. It really is. And like I say, the light bulbs went on when I saw these tabloids, and it's kind of funny that they were, in the last 2 days, day after day, so I don't know if it's going to continue, but, it looks like we are being set up. So.
Well, it'll continue, and it's going to escalate, and things are going to get wilder and wilder yet. You have not begun to be amazed, I can guarantee you, as they escalate the formation of this New World Order. You're going to see crazy things like you never dreamed of. And
another quick thing, too, now in Phoenix, the governor is calling out a police force, a posse, to protect the shoppers at all the malls because of these carjackings that are going on here. And that's another thing that I kind of quit, too.
Sure.
They're going to have not only police patrol the parking lots, but in the malls.
Getting people used to troops standing on the streets. Troops have been occupying Puerto Rico for quite some time now. That was the test ground. The mayor of Washington, D.C. has called for troops to function as law enforcement people in Washington, D.C. There's another city, I forgot the name of it, that's calling for troops also. You're going to see this happening everywhere, and they're going to get the people used to having an occupation army on the street corners. And now everybody thinks I'm crazy. They've been telling me I'm crazy for years, but everything I've ever said, except Manuel Noriega not getting convicted and going to jail, has come true. I'm the only one in the world who has been consistently right every time, all the time. And I don't know what to say. People better start listening.
Didn't Clinton's anti-crime bill call for $3-point-something billion for more police in the streets?
I guess was it 5,000 or 500,000? I don't. It was some huge figure.
Like 50,000.
Okay.
50 or 100,000.
100,000, I think.
So, and these will be paid for with federal money. Any police department that accepts federal money for its department automatically becomes an agency of the federal government and is no longer a local police force. Just like any school that accepts government funds for that school can no longer be controlled by their local school board, but has to conform to federal regulations. And just like a state, when they accept money for interstate highways, they lose their sovereignty and have to conform to the federal government. This is what's happening. We're being propelled into socialism very rapidly. I want to thank you for calling. You had some good points, and do it again.
Okay.
Good night.
Bye.
602-333-2174. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Hello, you're on the air.
Hello, Bill.
Good evening.
Hi. My heart is very heavy today with the passage of NAFTA. And in addition, I heard that the Senate passed a law that will ban 20 types of guns. So
semi-automatics.
Right, and I've noticed that recently the media is really stepping up their campaign against crime and guns. So it seems that they're on the move.
Well, Janet Reno said the day of the gun is over.
Like you mentioned, the American people basically the ones to blame, and I don't think they're ever going to wake up truthfully.
Well, you may be right. I'll tell you this, whatever happens, they have no right to cry. Anybody that cries, I will laugh in their face. I will just roll on the ground with laughter. It'll be kind of a sad laughter, but nevertheless, I'm going to laugh at them.
All right, I just want to get that off my chest.
Thank you for calling.
Okay, bye.
602-333-2174. Good evening. You're on the air.
Yes, Mr. Cooper, welcome back.
Welcome to the New World Order.
Thank you.
Am I the first one who's officially welcomed you to the New World Order?
I can say that is true.
Good.
Maybe you don't want to step into the New World Order and don't want to be welcomed.
Come into my parlor, said the spider to the fly.
And as they say, now is the time.
That's right. Well, you know the code words.
Oh, yeah. I heard it from the Pope myself.
All right.
I was wondering, there was a episode of Outer Limits, the title of which was Architects of Fear.
Uh-huh.
Do you recall that episode?
No, I don't, as a matter of fact.
You might find it interesting. I hate to give it away, but what it was about was certain men in the United Nations got together and thought, what could we do to bring the world together, to make it more peaceful? What they did was they drew straws, chose one of their group, and he was chosen to have an operation to alter his appearance to look like
an alien.
Of course.
Of course.
And he was launched into orbit. The plan was to have him land in the middle of the United Nations goings-on.
Well, I firmly believe that something like that is going to happen in the not-too-distant future.
And I'm wondering, whoever wrote for those episodes, I wonder what they really had insight on.
Well, you might want to ask H.G. Wells, Orson Welles. You might want to ask Oliver Stone. You might want to ask Stanton Friedman and Bud Hopkins and what's his name, Donald Francis Ecker III. Any of these people.
On an aside, I hope you don't take any offense in me. The reason I'm asking this next question, but it is the publishing company for your book, called The Pale Horse.
Yeah.
Is the same as Tex Mars's?
No.
Which was that? Light Technologies?
Light Technology is my publishing company. They have nothing to do with Tex Mars.
Okay. Can you tell me? I'm just curious. There's a little symbol on there.
I have no idea. You see, I'm not self-published.
All right, as I assumed. And it said in the back of the book that the publishing company has nothing to do with your...
Yeah, they put a little disclaimer in the back of my book.
Good.
She's a moneymaker, and she's a new ager. She's the only publishing company in the whole world who would touch my book with a 10-foot pole.
Well, I'm glad at least they did that. And your book is listed in New Age.
Now, if I had self-published my book, you'd need to be worried about that. But it's if I were published by Simon and Schuster, I would have nothing to do with their logos or their anything that they put on there.
Well, it might not be too bad. A friend of mine claims that it's similar to a symbol. I don't know if this is good or bad. On a, I believe it's a George Harrison album.
I don't know. I haven't seen it.
I'm not sure what it might be.
It's got something to do with the New Age occult,
and
that's all I can tell you about it.
Yeah, I kind of figured that's pretty much how it all came out.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought I'd just throw those two things at you.
Yeah, well, you're not the first one that's asked that, and we've had some people apply for CAGI membership, and I send them the welcoming letter, and I have a chop that I use. You know what a chop is?
No, I don't.
Well, it's like in the old days, they used to melt wax on the paper and then put their seal on there.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I used to be the executive director of a college in California, and my wife is Chinese also, but she didn't bring me this. I had a woman in charge of the accounting department. Her name was Barbara Lee, and she was also a big wheel with the United Fund in Los Angeles. But she went to Hong Kong to visit her relative. She was Chinese, and when she came back, she brought me this chop as a gift. And it's the ancient Chinese character, which means boss or director. And you stamp it in an ink pad, and you stamp it over your signature. Well, I had trouble with people forging my signature and writing all kinds of things to try to discredit me and signing my name down at the bottom. So I use this because if you see it over a signature, it's almost impossible. Nobody could counterfeit this. So to keep people from counterfeiting, people take a look at that, and then they send back their membership, and some of them don't even want their money back. They just want to run and hide. So I am continually amazed at all this stuff. It's a continual source of mirth and sorrow and wonderment and everything else.
And kind of, you can expect what'll happen next.
Sometimes I can, and I'm usually not surprised, but every once in a while, somebody manages to do it.
One very last thing, and that is, where can I find information on those who are in charge of drafting the UN Charter? In your book, Behold the Pale Horse, I think...
Look into the history of Alger Hiss.
Hiss? Was it Stalin and Pavlovsky, I believe?
Look into the history of Alger Hiss. Okay. Alger Hiss almost single-handedly wrote the UN Charter. He had some help, but read his life story and you'll get it. Also look into Mandel House, Colonel Mandel House. He was in on all that stuff too. Well, thank you for calling.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Have a good one.
Well, we got just about enough time maybe for one real quick call. And good evening, you're on the air.
Yeah, hello, Bill.
Hello.
I want to cheer you up, guy. Keep in mind, before the American Revolution, there was no Bill of Rights, and there wasn't any Constitution. And when it took place, it was only 10% of the people that actually got involved.
Actually, it was less than 5%, but you got to remember there was also no television.
Yeah, it's got a lot to do with it, guys.
Yeah.
Hang in there, because people are waking up.
Well, I know some people are, but it's just, I went to Atlanta. You know, the place is covered with 666s and pyramids, and out in Druid Hills, they built a complete they built a complete Stonehenge out there, and I mean, it's just going crazy. It's unbelievable what's happening, but it's right on the 33rd parallel. It's going to be the major financial center of the Southeast. It's named after Atlantis and all that stuff.
I hear you, guys, but hang in there. Hang in there.
Oh, I'm hanging.
Linda Thompson, well, either we're going to hang together, we're all going to hang separately, one or the other.
That's right.
Linda Thompson came here to Milwaukee about a month ago, and 3,000 people showed up.
Hey, that's wonderful.
That was 3,000 people that were wide awake. Okay, that's a whole lot more people than were wide awake, say, like a year ago.
Yeah. Guess what? We're out of time.
Have a good one.
Yeah, you too.
Bye.
Folks, I want to, I'm very upset with a lot of you out there, but nevertheless, good night, and God bless you.
I've been waiting my time just to talk to you. You've been looking all down at the mouth and down at your shoes. Well, baby, I come to give you the news. I'll paint rainbows all over your blues. I heard you've been spending a lot of your time up in your room. And at night you've been watching the dark side of the moon. You don't talk to nobody if they don't come to you. So babies, I came up here to sing you a tune. I give up is all you've really got to say. 'Cause it's time to find our lifestyle, so that really weren't the way. Let's go for a bounce on my trampoline. I can show you the prettiest mountain that you've ever seen. You better run to your closet and fish out your blue suede shoes. I'll paint rainbows and fish out your blue